So I was in my physics class and we were discussing gravitational waves. Quite a bit of the class seemed to think they didn't exist until the recent discovery of them.
Oh right, I was marked down in the test a while ago because gravitational waves didn't count as a wave.
That reminds me of a topic we discussed in TOK a while ago. Is previous knowledge more important than creativity in the development of scientific knowledge? What do you think?
Well, I think that creativity is largely based on trying to find proof or known theories. Take gravitational waves as an example. That has been a theory for about 100 years, uh, ever since Einstein created his theory, and only now did we use our creativity to find that they actually exist.
How so? Why do you think that's the case?
Creativity is the way of expressing ourselves using our imagination and intuition. It can be expressed in multiple ways, and in the context of nature sciences, we will be able to do this using a hypothesis. As a hypothesis is representative of how the person makes meaning of the world.
Yeah, I certainly guess so. But you could say that for gravitational waves, we already knew that the waves themselves existed, and we already knew that gravity existed. So doesn't that mean that prior knowledge is integral to the forming of this hypothesis?
Yeah, that's true. But if that's the case, how will we know when one is more useful than the other one?
Prior knowledge can be crucial in some situations where you need to understand the key factors before heading into the bigger picture. But prior knowledge may not be reliable. It still works off of our memory. Therefore, if our memory is weak or the knowledge has lost detail over time, we could still be incorrect about many things.
Wow, that's very interesting. I've just thought about other example. Did you know a long time ago people used to think they had blue blood?
Oh yeah, I've heard that story. It basically goes that during the medieval times, people used to think that royalty always had peasants, so they would never need to go out. This means that they would usually become really pale and they thought they would have blue blood.
This is actually incorrect. People used to think this was a reason, but we have used our own creativity to identify that back then, silver was a very popular metal for the culture. Spe- specifically, the royal would use it very often, and there is a side effect that gives your skin a slightly blue tone. This was most likely misrepresented to think that they are blue blood. This means we basically used our creativity to disprove the theory with new knowledge we have gained over time.
This could link back to the point I said earlier about how prior knowledge is not reliable. I obviously didn't know exactly what happened when you brought it up, but I still thought it was correct. This could have been told to me by another person, which could imply that there was also a chain of incorrect information floating around here and there.
Oh, just like that flat Earth society, a bunch of stranger people believe in incorrect information to point where there's multiple groups that fight against use global Earth.
I don't think we can really make fun of them, though. I think that the prior knowledge has just been altered due to creativity. For example, I was talking to a friend of mine earlier, and he brought up some good points. The only reason we actually believe that the Earth is a globe is because big businesses and scientists like NASA, for example, tell us it's a globe.
So I was saying that we are only don't believe in the FES because they are not popular.
Not exactly. I'm saying that because so many people have made fun of them, they seem like a joke whenever they state their theories. Don't get me wrong, I believe that the Earth is a globe, but we should keep ourselves open minded to other opinions.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. If we link the back to the question, we can see that creativity can sometimes have different perspectives, which can affect how we interrupt our previous knowledge. If your creativity, if your creativity is wrong, then our previous prior knowledge can also be wrong because of how we see it. Then if we try to express our opinion, then other people might see the knowledge incorrectly as well. This is how the chain of incorrect knowledge can start.
Speaking of the flat Earth theory, I remember hearing that some of them use a theory within flat Earth theory called the geocentric model. Any opinions on that?
Yeah, it was a theory that claimed that the Earth was in the center of the universe and it was generally believed by the public until around like 1533, um, where a man named Nicholas came up with the heliocentric theory. This states that the sun is in the center of the universe instead of the sun.
This is still
Instead of
Yeah, this is still obviously wrong, but both flat earthers and globe people who believe the earth is a globe have used our creativity and intuition in different ways to come up with different theories. Flat earth theory states that the sun orbits the earth to disprove a few theories that we have against them, while we use heliotropic model to solve basic scientific theories that we have.
So basically, people can have different creativity minds which can affect how we come up with and/or solve theories based on our prior knowledge.
Yeah, that basically sums it up. Another thing I found interesting is Dalton's model of the atom.
Oh, I've heard of that. If I remember correctly, he was the one who said that everything is made of small individual things called atoms. Did you know that the word atom was derived from the word atoms, which means indivisible particle in Latin?
Well, that's interesting. But something I remember is that his model of the atom was still not 100% accurate. So we used our intuition to realize that there was still more to add to his theory. Eventually, we came up with something called quarks, which, as far as we know, is the smallest part of the atom, and that is indivisible. But who knows? Maybe we'll find something even smaller.
But how does this help us answer our question? Which one is more important, creativity or previous knowledge?
Well, to a certain extent, both of them can be extremely important. We needed to figure out what the most indivisible object was. Dalton figured out an accurate model of the atom, and using that prior knowledge in modern times, we could apply our imagination to think of something smaller, which led to the discovery of quarks. We can apply the same type of knowledge to imaginary numbers in quantum physics.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that. So we used our previous knowledge of imaginary numbers to advance ourselves to a certain point. Once we reached that point, we implemented that into our current knowledge of quantum physics. This helped our knowledge of the subject became a lot more advanced.
Imaginary numbers were not actually created just for quantum physics. We had to be creative and implement them into quantum physics to be able to further our knowledge on the subject. So I guess they both work in the same, they both work in both ways in some way.
But that means we use creativity in multiple ways here. First, we need to invent the imaginary number for some other purpose. Then we use creativity in the form of intuition to use them in the quantum physics. But then again, we still used our prior knowledge of quantum physics to figure out how and when we would need to use them.
Wow, that's very interesting. I'm glad we had this discussion. See you tomorrow.
Bye, see you.